Hello, and welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Are They Doing at CERN? And I've been looking at this from every possible angle for years now, as many of us have, And every time I think I get close to figuring out exactly what they're doing there, it turns out that that's not what they're doing there. And I think the reason it's so hard to figure out what they're doing there is because as spellcasters and magic people, they have some kind of protection over that place so that you can't really look into what's going on with it, or it feels that way. It feels like it's like you can't penetrate something there. It's hard to look at it. I mean, I'm sure there are remote viewers that can go in there or have been in there, but most of the good ones are probably working for them. So it's like, I don't know, but they definitely have something that's obfuscating their actions there, some kind of spell. I mean, there's no other word for it. That's what they use. It's what they work with. They work with magic, and they drop breadcrumbs down rabbit holes that aren't that don't have anything to do with what they're doing. Now, the whole explanation for it, like the normie explanation for it, wanting to understand the universe, is just so retarded. But when most of your population has been programmed, set on a certain frequency and under another kind of spell, that excuse kind of passed muster. It's like, oh, okay, they're just trying to figure out what the universe does. It's like, what could they possibly mean by that? Here's the thing, right? You ask any of those guys working there to explain in 5 minutes or less what it is they're doing there, and they can't do it. Whenever they talk to those guys, it's always stuff like, well, the building blocks of matter are, once we have this larger piece of the collider in, it'll be easier to read the building blocks of matter. They're always talking about adding some new piece to it that's going to fix it or make it better without actually explaining what they're doing there in the first place at all. And it's like, that's all they talk about, is like the hardware. The amount of money and resources tied up in that thing, not that it matters to them. I mean, the money and resources are a bad look to us, because we look at it and we're like, holy shit, that's a lot of money and resources there. To them, they don't care because they make the money and the resources. It doesn't matter. But to us, yeah, it's like, what could they possibly be doing that requires all that stuff? It just looks evil too. But yeah, getting back to them, like I've seen them interview some of these guys, and there's a lot online you can look at. None of them can tell you what they're doing, like, so that it makes any sense. They just tell you what they want to do, and once they add this other piece, and the things that do come out of there sound crazy. And I mean crazy in relative to what you would think normie science would be talking about, And then there's all the like conspiratorial type stuff, which isn't really conspiratorial. It's just all information that's out there. The Shiva ritual thing that guy supposedly got a little bit of film of. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically, and why do they have a Shiva statue out there? I know these are all the basic questions, but sometimes you got to go back to the beginning to refresh as to what the fuck's going on with that place. And it's not the only one. That's just the one that like they talk about, or the one they publicize, or that you're allowed to know about. There's a lot of those Hadron Colliders, I guess, throughout the world. Switzerland is a pretty evil place, though, if you look into the history of that place. Switzerland itself may be the, air quotes, spell that obfuscates the whole project. Because there's some real weird shit going on there in Switzerland. It's like almost like how they always say it's a neutral place. I think it's energetically and magically and spiritually a neutral zone in some way. And they use that to hide in. Again, in some way. I don't know how any of this shit works. I just know that it's happening somehow. But that's the story of my fucking life. Like, oh wow, I know this is this. I know this is how this happens. Well, how does it happen? I don't know. Because you just get the surface truth about things sometimes, and you gotta really just think on it. A lot of people mention how they get ideas from, or knowledge from inside, you know, and a lot of people meditate. I'm not very good at meditating. I can't keep myself still that long. But it's basically, I understand the concept of it, because these kind of things, like, that come to you from it, they sort of happen randomly. So the idea, I guess, of meditation is when you're not concentrating on anything else, it frees up your mind to just let this stuff come out. And maybe that's true. But in the case of something like what's going on with the Large Hadron Collider, you know, that's very specific information that you may have, but that's like I said, I don't know. Like it's obfuscated somehow. Obfuscated. I just wanted to use that word a lot, I guess. But there we go. So yeah. So for a while, I was thinking they were trying to sort of control what the timeline was, because as a military anon had said, a leaker, information leaker, was talking about, and I already knew this, how in 2012 the timelines began to converge into one. That Project Looking Glass thing, and they were using to basically see the future. They would, and the way they would do it is they would kind of put the it's almost like putting information into a computer that would say, all right, if we do this or move this here or take this action in a certain amount of years, what will the result be? So in that way, it was kind of like that looks like a globe, like a time traveling device or a looking glass, you know. But when it got to 2012, they couldn't do anything past it. Anything they would do, any action they would take to try to get a result from, they couldn't get a result that was different past 2012, but would always go to the same thing. And from there, they determined somehow that there was, the timelines were converging. You know, there was a convergence. So, that guy back there, that's help. He's not really, he doesn't really need help. He just does that all day. And then when you go over there, he kind of snatches you into his fucking web. When I first ran into that guy, I thought he was just some kindly old man. I'm taken in by these people here all the time. It's fucking sad. I think I'm like hip to the game, but I'm not. I always get taken in. But yeah, after pushing the guy around, giving him money, giving him cigarettes, I realized, oh, this is just his grift. You know, it's easier to spot the grift when someone looks a certain way. When you get an old man in a wheelchair, it's like, you know. But anyway, I'm trying to keep this under 10 minutes, but yeah, I don't, so, focus here. CERN, I'm gonna have to put a pin in this. But yeah, what I basically wanted to talk about was that after all this time, I still have no clue what they're doing there. They like to lead on like they know what they're doing, but I don't think they do. I don't think they have any control over like the Mandela effect, for instance. People think it's tied to CERN, and I used to think that possibly them trying to game the timeline in a way that's more reasonable for them is perhaps what they were trying to do. But as time has gone on, I'm kind of thinking more like that's just something happening independently from them, and they're trying to claim that as something they're doing. But it's manipulating. They're trying to manipulate the timeline in some way, you know. And what for? I don't know. I mean, I don't even have a good... Every time I think I'm onto something, I'm not, you know. It's gotten to the point with CERN that I don't even bother talking to people about it anymore. It used to be like a hot topic. What are they doing in CERN? But now it's just like, who gives a shit what they're doing? But that's the kind of conclusion like I've drawn about a lot of things. Like all this stuff, what's going on at CERN, what's happening with the fucking elite people, what are they planning for this and that. At the end of the day, you know, who gives a shit? You can't do anything about it. You can control your world, your area, the people around you, the people you love and you care about, and your neighborhood or your community. Like you have not only a stake in that, but you have a way to be a part of it and control it and enrich it and make it better. Or, you know, what these other outside forces are doing, while it's fun to talk about, and, you know, I like to talk about it because sometimes you can learn things as to what's going on with your own condition, you know. But I don't know why just CERN was on the brain again today, and it was the first thing I thought of when I came out of the house. See, I have no answers. They're doing something. I think that's you know, that's my conclusion. CERN, they're doing something. Yeah, I'm really coming up with some breaking ground on the CERN situation. But there really isn't that much else to it. I mean, you're not really going to understand much until something happens that's significant. Like, I don't... We're kind of just left to whatever gets filtered down through our sources. Anyone that has any sort of ability to see what they're doing over there is probably working for them. Yeah, so I'm going to walk around and ponder this some more. No, I'm going to, as soon as I cross the street, I'm going to forget all about it. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.